Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. I am your host, Peg. Today I'm coming to you with a very smallish book outlet book haul. So I placed an order about a month ago. No, probably sooner than that. It is probably just a few weeks ago. And just kind of a variety of things that were marked down. They had a big sale. And what else is new? You've heard this ad nauseum when it comes to my book hauls, but I've got a mixture of mostly fiction, some historical fiction, adding to certain collections that I have. See, one history and a piece of nonfiction of essays. So, without further ado, let's dive into this little book haul. Shouldn't take us too long. Let's start with the history first, and then we're going to move into fiction. So I'll grab my history readers first, and if you want to bounce, I would love it if you watch the whole video, but hey, I get it. Your time is very valuable. All right. So, my friends, I think this would actually appeal to Bill Rutenberg at the Rutenberg Library. I know he's a big fan of George Washington. I've got, obviously, several books, biographies, actually more than several. I have a lot of books about Washington in some fashion or another, whether just on him or about the other founding fathers. But this is one I did not have, and I have had my eye on it at my bargain outlets. I'm always constantly keeping an eye out for the books that I've missed or still want to read, and as they are marked down, I like to pick them up. And this book was recently marked down big time on BookOutlet. So I picked up hardcover, no less, A Crisis of Peace, George Washington, The Newburgh Conspiracy, and the Fate of the American Revolution by David Head. It's put out by Pegasus Books. It's a fairly recent book. This came out 2019. So let me read you a little synopsis. All right. This is about the George Washington's first crisis of the fledgling republic. In the war's waning days, the American Revolution neared collapse when Washington's senior officers were rumored to approach the edge of mutiny. After the British surrender at Yorktown, the American Revolution blazed on, and as peace was negotiated in Europe, grave problems surfaced at home. The government was broke and paid its debts with loans from France. Political rivalry among the states paralyzed Congress. The Army's officers, encamped near Newburgh, New York, and restless without an enemy to fight, brooded over a civilian population indifferent to their sacrifices. The result was the Newburgh Conspiracy, a mysterious event in which Continental Army officers, disgruntled by a lack of pay and pensions, may have collaborated with nationalist-minded politicians such as Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and Robert Morris, to pressure Congress and the states to approve new taxes and strengthen the central government. A Crisis of Peace tells the story of a pivotal episode of General Washington's leadership and reveals how the American Revolution really ended, with fiscal turmoil, out-of-control conspiracy thinking, and suspicions between soldiers and civilians so strong that peace almost failed to bring true independence. So, not often remembered episode in our nation's founding, but very important, and I think it has some relevant implications for today. Just kind of reminds us that founding fathers and the beginning wasn't all peaches and roses and, kittens and butterflies. I mean, they were really at each other's throats a lot, so not too much has changed. So we have A Crisis of Peace. So that's our great history pickup from BookOutlet. I'll try to do the. This is some type of, this is history as well, but this is more, I think, popular history. Kind of scandalous. It falls into my interest in in addition to history. On the fiction side, I love mysteries, like murder mysteries and detective stuff and historical fiction, obviously. But this kind of blends the two, okay? Or the three, actually, of history, historical fiction, and murder mysteries. This is Murder by the Book, The Crime That Shocked Dickens's London by Claire Harmon. So I picked it up in a nice hardcover edition. It was very, very much marked down. It's kind of a little bit grubby, but it's fine for my purposes. So, what is this about, you ask? Well, I shall tell you. Um, from award-winning biographer Claire Harmon, Murder by the Book is the fascinating story of a Victorian-era murder that rocked literary London, leading Charles Dickens, William Thackeray, and Queen Victoria herself to wonder, can a novel kill? Early in the morning of May 6, 1840, on a highly respectable Mayfair street, a footman answered the door to a panic-stricken maid from a nearby house. Her elderly master, Lord William Russell, was lying in bed with his throat cut so deeply that the head was almost severed. Wow. The whole of London, from monarch to street urchins, was soon gripped by the crime's gory details and panicked by its significance. For behind the Russell murder was another story, the part played in the crime by the season's most sensational novel, Jack Sheppard, the saga of an unrepentant thief who escaped from justice time and again. The book, by William Harrison Ainsworth, had already sparked a crime wave in the capital, and when Lord William's murderer claimed to have been corrupted by the tale, it ignited a fierce debate about writers and morality that drew Dickens and Thackeray, both at the beginning of their careers, into the fray. Harmon combines a riveting whodunit with a literary scandal that involved the most famous writers of the day. Impeccably researched, beautifully crafted, Murder by the Book is an utterly beguiling read that sheds new light on a notorious historical mystery and the enigmatic path from virtue to the gallows. So, doesn't that sound juicy? I can't wait. It's got illustrations. There's even a death mask in here. That's what you heard me go, ooh, very creepy. Okay, so Murder by the Book by Claire Harmon. So I don't have a vast collection of these books. I have a few. Actually, you can see them right behind my head, right there. Peggy, other way. I can't do this. There we go. Those three right there. That look right here. That's the extent of my Everyman's Library collection. Everyman's Library collection. I have three. I think I've got Pickwick Papers, Brothers Karamazov, and another one. I need my other pair of glasses to see that far. It doesn't matter. Okay. I was thinking of trying to find this books actually, individually, but I was like, it'll take me years to even find them or read them all the way through. When I probably should at least say that I've claimed to have at least read the abridged version of this. Because it's a classic and I've heard everyone talk about it at different times in my life. And they had it on BookOutlet in a hardcover for like something crazy, like $6. And it's an Everyman's Library edition of The Diary of Samuel Pepys. Can you believe it? I just picked that. Sometimes they have these Everyman's Library hardcovers marked down on BookOutlet. And I just happened to stumble across it, and I was like, well, you know what? Let's just pick it up for the cost of $5. And, I was researching different different places to buy all of the editions of his of his diary. So, because I don't really care for abridged anything. I want to read all of it. But realistically, with my schedule and how much I'm reading right now in my spare time for book reviews and things that I'm writing for publications, it may not be until I retire from when I retire and I have way more time for reading. But I thought a 1-volume edition would be a great start, get my feet wet. So I was able to pick this one up. Let me know if you guys have this or if you recommend this or any other editions that you think might be worth my while. All right, the next. Do I need to read a description in case some of you are not aware of Pepys' diaries? I'll read it real quick. The most celebrated, colorful, and vivid diarist in the English language, Samuel Pepys recorded the details of his life in more than 1,000,000 words. This newly edited selection of his diary is the most accessible and uncensored edition available. Okay, informed by new research and helpfully annotated for a general audience. So for right now, that's me. I have never read his diary before, so I think this is the perfect place for me to start. It says here, though he rose to become the most powerful administrator in King Charles II's navy, when Pepys began writing his secret journal in 1660, he was only a young clerk living in London, struggling to pay his rent. Over the next 9 years, he became eyewitness to some of the most significant events in 17th century English history, among them the Restoration, the Great Plague of London in 1665, and the Great Fire of London in 1666. The Diary of Samuel Pepys gives vivid descriptions of spectacular events, but much of the richness of the work lies in the details it provides about the minor dramas of daily life. While Pepys was keen to hear the king's views, he was also always ready to talk with a soldier, a housekeeper, or a child rag picker. He records his personal life with surprising frankness, including his tempestuous marriage and his infidelities, ambitions, and power schemes. He recounts scandals with relish and conveys his voracious delight in music, food, books, scientific discoveries, and fashion. The result is a lively, often astonishing diary and an unparalleled portrait of life in 17th century London. So doesn't that just sound awesome? I can't wait. I've heard of Pepys. I know that he was a diarist. I'm just ashamed to admit that I have not dipped into any of his diaries. So that's something I look to remedy. And I thought this was my perfect way of doing that for both the size of the book, and just shelf space alone. And the fact that I haven't had any type of exposure to the diaries, I thought the Everyman's Library edition might be the great place to start. So there you have that. So we're going to move on into fiction. And these, obviously, I've got a bunch here that I just decided, you know what, thanks to BookOutlet, I basically have found the entire collection just by every now and then I log on, I take a look, and they have more books in the series. And it's a mystery series that I've been reading, and you've heard me mention it before on this channel, the William Kent Kruger, Cork O'Connor mystery series set in northern Minnesota. He's half Irish, half Anishinaabe. So, why can't I get the Anishinaabe? Forgive me. I have it on the tip of my tongue. I know. Anyway, I've shown you the other books I've picked up, and I am reading, starting from the beginning. I read and reviewed for Book Browse his prequel, Lightning Strike, which was wonderful. I fell in love with the location. Like, the characters were really just very genuine and real, and just very, very vivid. I could just really see the wilderness as the way he described it. It was beautiful in my mind, and it is a beautiful part of the North. So I decided I am going to go back and read these books from the beginning. So far I could see them on my shelf over here. I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I have 8, and I think he's got about. I think he's coming out with a new one right now, which is number 19. And if you count the prequel, so I already have that. So I probably have 10 so far. Let's see, 3, 6, 9. Okay, so I have 9. Okay, well, I picked up 5 more. So I am almost done collecting the series, except for the new one coming out. I don't know. I need to order these in order, but when I get them all, I will show you them. But let me just show you the ones I picked up. They don't say the number on the side of. Oh wait. Copper River. Do I have that? So I don't have that one yet. Oh, I almost hit the pause button. I hate when I do that. All right, I think this one is next. So I picked up Red Knife. Don't have that one. Oh, I do have Thunder Bay. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to look as I go. And we have Red Knife. And then we have, I'm not going to read you the script. They're mysteries, so each one you don't need to hear because there's 16 in the series. But then I have Wendigo Island, which is a really fantastic cover. Look at that. I just love it. I love these mysteries. I have a Vermilion Drift. Again, I picked these up again for like $4.95 each, maybe. Normally like 16, 18 bucks. Trade paperback. Yeah, about 17 bucks. Got them for like 4 or 5. So I just thought I'm gonna stock up and get this entire series. And then I got Sulphur Springs. They're nice, slim little volumes, great to read. I'm hoping this summer I'm gonna make my way big time. At least get halfway through the series is my goal. And then finally, I picked up Northwest Angle. So, again, just beautiful trade paperbacks for a song. And not only were they marked down, then I had a coupon code that took the grand total down even further. So, I mean, just look at that. They have really nice, colorful spines. And again, these look really good with my others. And they're very well written. I highly recommend you checking out the Cork O'Connor Mystery Series if you enjoy mysteries. Especially ones that are kind of, centered around, outdoors, wilderness. I mean, if you're a fan of C.J. Box, Nevada Bar, these are things I think would appeal to you. All right, and then, so this one I thought I'd just take a chance on. I'd seen this on a couple of other BookTube channels, and it was extremely marked down, and it's a hardcover from Farrar, Straus and Giroux. I'd never read this woman before, but I was intrigued. She sounds like she had a rocky life, but it was so cheap. I think it was like $3. The Copenhagen Trilogy by Tove Ditlevsen. Childhood Youth Dependency. Nice hardcover here. I'll give you a little readout of this. It's really brief. Following one woman's journey from a troubled girlhood in working-class Copenhagen through her struggle to live on her own terms, Tove Ditlevsen's Copenhagen Trilogy is a searingly honest, utterly immersive portrayal of love, friendship, art, ambition, and the terrible lure of addiction from one of Denmark's most celebrated 20th century writers. So they combine all 3 books in here. I was intrigued, and for the price, I said I'll give it a try. So we've got that one. Oh, okay. And then this one, you might remember from another book outlet haul that I did. It was like a historical fiction book haul. I think that might have been in the video's title. I talked about I was collecting some of the books by Margaret George. She has like the memoirs of, I don't have that one though, the memoirs of Cleopatra, but I've got, she wrote a historical fiction novel on Mary Magdalene, and I picked that one up, and then what was the other one? The other one is like the diary or the diary of Henry VIII or something like that. So I have those 2. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. The one I'm holding in my hand is the one I ordered. This is the one I don't have. Okay, it's Mary called Magdalene. So this is the Margaret George novel. I wasn't expecting it to be kind of beat up on the front, but it was relatively cheap, so I picked it up. The other 2 that I had previously shown you that I picked up, oh, right, I have the autobiography of Henry VIII on my shelf behind me, and Mary, Queen of Scotland and the Isles. Those are the 2 Margaret George books that I have. And I want to get the Cleopatra one and also the 2 that she has on, I think, Nero, the Confessions of Nero. Anyway, she's a great historical fiction writer, and these were 3 books of hers so far that I haven't read. And being Christian, I'm very interested to see what her take would be on Mary called Magdalene. So I picked up that from BookOutlet. It's a big one. Well over 600 pages. The Confessions of Young Nero. I think I got that one on audiobook, and then I realized I don't I don't listen to audio books that much because I'm either working at the computer, and when I'm writing or, looking at stuff for work, I'm thinking, and I can't have these words coming into my ear. So it's either music or something else that I can kind of just drown out that kind of gets me into the thinking zone. So, and then when I'm not working, and I'm not around like Martine or, doing stuff or watching a movie, I'm reading a physical book, which is what I prefer, and I'm not going to listen to an audiobook. I like to keep my hands busy, you see. Like with a book, I feel like I'm involved and I'm more concentrated. So anyway, that's just a little bit about me. But so anyway, I picked up Mary Called Magdalene, and that'll join my others up here on my shelf, which is the Mary, Queen of Scots, and then the autobiography of Henry VIII. So I'll probably pick up, they have her other ones on there too. One of them is in hardcover, but so does Hamilton book. And I'm really tempted. I have a big Hamilton book cart that I might reward myself with. I've been working really hard. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I have been burning the midnight oil, and I don't know. That's how I reward myself. Some people like to go out and buy new cars and do things like this. I like books. I like books. So there's that. Those are those two here. Again, this is a kind of a fiction heavy book outlet haul. But before I continue on to the other final three fictions, I picked this one up on a whim because it sounded really interesting. It's a book of essays. It's put out by a new favorite of mine, Eerdmans Press, Eerdmans Publishing. They put out fantastic biblical scholarship, theology, anything in that line, history, church history. It's, William B. Eerdmans Publishing Company. It's out of Grand Rapids, my home state, Michigan. It sounded really good, so I picked it up. This one was a little more expensive, like $8, but for the content and the quality of the thinking here, I'm thinking it's going to be awesome. This is The Devil Reads Derrida, not The Devil Wears Prada. The Devil Reads Derrida, and Other Essays on the University, the Church, Politics, and the Arts by James K.A. Smith. Slim little volume, not going to lie. I paid a lot for about $8 for about 150 pages. And I looked for it elsewhere, and it was way more expensive. So I thought I'll pick it up here. So what is this about? A notable young voice in the academy, James K.A. Smith has consistently spoken to the church as the most important public for his intellectual work. Bringing together essays both thoughtful and entertaining, The Devil Reads Derrida displays some of Smith's most significant forays into the public arena. In this engaging work, Smith grapples with the wild-at-heart phenomenon and the challenges of secularization, deals with sex and consumerism, and comments on creative works from American Beauty and Harry Potter to A History of Violence and the Poetry of Franz Wright. No matter what his subject, Smith explores issues with clarity and insight, with scholarly rigor, but always with an eye to Christian discipleship and the life of the church. All right. So it's got like a chapter on faith in America on politics and the church. So there's just a collection of essays, and I've mentioned it before recently. I just love books of essays. Faith on the Ground, on discipleship. So schools of faith on the universities, and picturing faith criticism. So a little bit of everything in this book. So I thought I'd pick it up. So this next book, I was motivated to search for more stories after I read and reviewed a recent release in Book Browse. Well, a book that was recently released, but I also reviewed it for Book Browse, called The Vortex. A fascinating story I'd never heard of before that brought together a confluence of like three events. The Great Bola Cyclone of 1970, which devastated what was then, I think, was it Burma, and parts of India. But I think it was Burma, and which is now Myanmar. But and then it talked about the war between Pakistan. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. Bangladesh. How could I get that wrong? Sorry, because East Pakistan got their fought for independence in 1971, 72, shortly after the cyclone, and became Bangladesh because that's right. Okay, so it's an interesting story. Like when I first read it, I'm like, I didn't realize there was a West Pakistan and an East Pakistan, or that Bangladesh used to be East Pakistan. This is all things that were new to me. Fantastic book. I can't recommend it highly enough. The Vortex, look that up. And so it covers like geopolitics, the climate change. It covers the storm, the hurricane that was just the worst natural disaster on record as far as human lives lost. Anyway, so I was fascinated by that, and saddened because the response from the government in Pakistan at the time to their East Pakistani comrades was just horrible, because there was this racism between religious and ethnic hatred between West Pakistan and then the Bangladeshi people who made up most of East Pakistan. So it's fascinating stuff. So I was looking online to see if I could find more books on the topic. Well, and this one brought up my search brought up some nonfiction and some history, but it brought up this fiction book, which looks like it could be really good, and also kind of buttress now my knowledge around this event. And this is called The Storm by Arif Anwar, a novel. So when I saw this on BookOutlet, this was after I had already done searches, and I was like, oh, there's that book that I was thinking of getting about the cyclone, the Bola cyclone. It was put up by Harper Perennial. And I didn't hear about this the first time it came out. Let me see. I'm trying to find out when this came out for you. 2018. So it's very recent. So let me read to you real quick. Sorry for the digression there. I just highly recommend The Vortex, that you check it out. It's a great book. And it says here, inspired by the 1970 Bola cyclone, in which 500,000 people perished overnight, the storm seamlessly interweaves 5 love stories that together chronicle 60 years of Bangladeshi history. So we have here Sharyar, a recent PhD graduate and the father of 9-year-old Anna, must leave the U.S. when his visa expires. In their last remaining weeks together, we learn his story, beginning in a village on the Bay of Bengal, where a poor fisherman and his wife are preparing to face a storm of historic proportions. Their story intersects with those of a Japanese fighter pilot, a British female doctor stationed in Burma during World War II, and a privileged couple in Calcutta who leave everything behind to move to East Pakistan following the partition of India. And I think I know who he's talking about. There's a real-life couple that are chronicled in The Vortex, American couple that went over there and did everything they could to help the people. The structure of this riveting novel mimics the storm itself, building to a series of revelatory and moving climaxes as it explores the many ways in which families love, betray, honor, and sacrifice for one another. At once grounded in history and fantastically imaginative, The Storm is a sweeping epic in the tradition of Khaled Hosseini's The Kite Runner and Rohinton Mysteries' A Fine Balance, by an immensely talented new voice in international fiction. And this is Arif Anwar's first novel. So I'm very excited to check this one out, because boy, I tell you what, reading about that cyclone and just the aftermath of it too, it was just harrowing stuff. So I'll be interested to see what he does with this novel. Okay, so the final 2 books, and we're at the 30-minute mark. These two, well, these are these are part of a series that I have long been intrigued by. I almost reviewed one of these for the Historical Novels Review But one of the books in the series was just so long, and I knew I wouldn't have time to get it read in time, so I had to pass on it. But this author was always in my mind, and like, I want to check out the series, and it's called the Seven Sisters series. I'm trying to think of which one is the first. This is probably the first one. So I picked up the first in the series, and let's see. I know there's obviously 7, right? Anyway, we'll start with this one. This is Lucinda Riley, and this is the Seven Sisters. Okay, this was put out by Atria Books. And then I picked up the other one that they had available at the time, and I don't think it's the second book in the series. It could be. So the first book is The Seven Sisters. I'll start with this. But it's about one woman, obviously. Okay, well, this one, let me read the back. Okay. Gathered at their childhood home on Lake Geneva to mourn their beloved adopted father's death, Maya Daplees and her 5 younger sisters each receive a tantalizing clue to their true, distinct heritages. For Maya, so this is about Maya then. For Maya, the journey to piece together her past begins in a crumbling mansion in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. 80 years later, in the Rio of the 1920s, passionate Isabella Bonifacio longs to see the world before she is married off to an aristocratic stranger. Okay, so maybe it's not about Maya. I'm going to learn as I go, folks. So Isabella convinces her father to allow her to accompany Hydor da Silva Costa and his family to Europe as the architect searches for an artist to bring to life his vision for an enormous statue to be called Christ the Redeemer. But in Paris, Isabella meets an ambitious young sculptor and knows at once that her life will never be the same. In this beguiling, entrancing novel, Lucinda Riley vividly intertwines the stories of 2 extraordinary women, set decades apart, each a reminder of the courage it takes to accept love when it is offered. So Maya and Isabella, all right, and there's Christ the Redeemer statue right there. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so then the other one I picked up that was available for extreme markdown was The Storm Sister. Okay, and I think this one is about Allie. Says Allie de Aplis is preparing for one of the world's most challenging yacht races when she receives news of her father's death. Saying goodbye to the love of her life, a man her family knows nothing about, she rushes back to her childhood home, an enchanting chateau where she and her 5 sisters, each adopted as infants, were raised. When new tragedy strikes on the high seas, Allie turns her back on the water and instead follows her own North Star, an intriguing clue left by her father that leads her to Norway. Okay. With the promise of unmasking her origins. Surrounded by the majestic beauty of an unfamiliar homeland, Allie discovers the century-old story of Anna Landvik, a talented singer with an astonishing link to composer Edvard Grieg. But as Allie learns more about Anna, she also begins to question who her father, Pa Salt, really was, and why her 7th sister remains missing. Lucinda Riley's captivating story brings together 2 resilient women, decades apart, weaving their stories into an unforgettable examination of family, love, and identity. So apparently each book they're going to have 2 women decades apart examining these profundities of life. So I'm intrigued, so I'm going to read The Seven Sisters first and see if this tickles my fancy. I think it will. It sounds like something I'd really enjoy. And that's my Book Outlet book haul of recent, recent origin. I thought I'd be honest with you about what I'm bringing into the house here. I do have, of course, other things to show you, new arrivals from publishers, as always, but these are some of the books that I picked up on my own thrifty, thrift shopping and stuff like that. So let me know what appeals to you guys, and if anything here you've decided to add to your TBR, it always tickles me pink to know that I might have turned you onto something you hadn't heard of before. So what else is going on? Just chugging away. Reading the books, knocking them down, writing reviews. Still trying to get my library downstairs put together in the parlor. Almost all the shelves are full. I'm waiting for. Oh, I do have another book order coming in. I have to show you. That's going to be more like theological. I've kind of really been wanting to get back into my hardcore studies, my biblical studies, and just got a ton of new things to show you. Very excited about, and I hope you will be too, as we go on this journey together, if you care to come along. But in the meantime, yeah, simple little book outlet book haul for you. Figured we could all use that on a Monday morning. It's Monday evening. What the hell am I talking about? It's a Monday evening, so enjoy. Hope you have a great week, and I will try to get another video up this week so we're not waiting for weekly video installments. So thanks for your patience as I work through my backlog. And until next time, BookTube, ciao.